419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Hey, welcome into the 419. I'm realizing that my clock, the volume was on, so that was going to get a little chaotic. But hey, it's the 419.
Oh, we're still going.
Powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
You know, sometimes the wheels come off before you even started moving.
I sounded like a ghost voice. That's what startled me a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It's, you know, that happens.
Yeah.
It just starts.
And it's not Rich, who's our floor manager today, so it had to have been the machine over there.
Or an actual ghost. It's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah, it is.
I am so excited for the show today.
Yes.
It is Mystery Guest Day,
Yes.
which for folks that may be new to this program, this is sort of the signature of our original podcast. We can't take credit for it. We stole it from the folks at Smartless.
Right.
But where only one of us knows who is going to be on the show today.
And today, literally one of us, because Matt's not here today.
That's true.
So,
and actually,
so you know and I don't.
we could actually say that every day
That's
one
true.
of us doesn't know who the guest is. And that is
right.
Matt every day.
That's right.
But today, you also don't know who
No,
the
I
guest
don't.
is
I'm
because it's
excited.
my mystery guest. And I love getting a chance to meet people
Yes.
on the show. But I also love when I get a chance to introduce you knuckleheads to great people.
Yeah,
in
you
the
tend to bring
community.
people that I have never, I know of, maybe, but I've never met or talked to, so that's always interesting.
We're going to see if we do it.
Yeah.
And then we're also continuing our partnership with the YWCA.
Yep.
Milestones.
Yep.
We will have another one of the Milestones awardees.
Yep, another fabulous leader in our community. She's receiving the award at Milestones for volunteerism. Candice Harrison is going to be here to talk to us about herself and what she does at SSOE.
Love it. All right.
I got some interesting feedback from a friend and colleague of mine on the show.
Is it a friend and colleague of mine?
I don't think so.
Then I don't care.
His name is Kurt Bruderly. Sorry, I just kicked you. He's an attorney friend of mine, and he said, I was watching the show, he likes it, and he said, I have a suggestion. I was like, okay. And he's like, I think that you should start eating a progressively hotter series of wings.
Oh, interesting.
Show,
So
and
we're
then
just
see
gonna-
what happens. And
so
I
we're
was
just
like,
gonna
clever.
He really wants us to take all of the most popular shows
That's right.
on the internet
And just do it in Toledo.
and combine them all into one. And
Right.
so we're going to have a Hot Things episode
Yeah.
of the 419.
I think we do hot wings, and then we could also turn it into a dating show.
I mean, that's just selfish.
I'm just throwing it out there. No reason I would suggest that.
The whole point of this was for you to get to the suggestion of you want us to
not
turn
true.
the 419
That's
into a dating
absolutely
show. I
not
actually,
true.
have you seen the show Updating?
No.
Check it out on YouTube. It is largely not WGTE appropriate.
Okay.
Just because it just delves into that because it's adults,
Yeah.
you know, being weird. But it is a.
And that's not what WGTE
No,
is
that's
about.
right. No, not at all. It's the opposite. And then
Right.
they let us on.
Yeah.
No. It is a blind dating like live event.
That sounds very
and
traumatic.
I've thought that the three of us hosting something like that
Terrible.
would be
Terrible.
No, it'd be so good.
Okay,
it
I'm
would
in.
be fantastic. But you don't want to host it.
No.
You want to be on
I
it.
would want to host it only. Yeah. So are you going to give a few seconds of hints?
Oh yeah, let's do it. All right.
Sorry.
So this is someone that may be one of the best collaborators.
Wow, okay.
In our community, a 20-year educator with Toledo Public Schools.
Okay.
Retired, and she is one of those people that I met for the first time, and now I see her everywhere. And I legitimately, when I'm in the same room she is, I know I'm in the right place. Because she's one of those people that you want to follow.
Yeah.
And she knows. Yes, absolutely. She is uniquely connected to one of the most famous Toledoans of all time.
Jamie Farr.
Nope. I think she's also coined one of my favorite phrases of all time.
Okay.
Which is, you can't be what you can't see.
Interesting.
Yep.
I have no idea who this is, so I'm excited to meet her.
It's going to be so much fun. We'll find out who my surprise guest is on the other side of this break. Stick with us. It's a mystery guest edition of the 419, powered by WGTE.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and Rethinking Jails and Justice. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. It's a mystery guest edition, and it's my mystery guest. And I'm so proud to introduce one of our community's incredible leaders. She was named one of the 100 most powerful Black women in Toledo in 2025.
Wow.
I haven't seen the list in 2026, and if you're not in the top 10, then that list is wrong. Please welcome Christine Sweeney.
Welcome to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I'll have your payment for you after the show is over.
Perfect. So you are the executive director of the Art Tatum Zone.
Yes.
And also, are you a pastor?
I am a pastor.
At Tabernacle.
At the Tabernacle Church.
Along with your husband, Calvin.
Along with my amazing husband, Calvin. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I love you, honey.
He made you say that, didn't he?
Every day.
Yeah.
So with a name like Kevin, occasionally people try to pull off Kev.
Yeah.
And I tell people, like, if you have to ask, it probably isn't going to work.
Right.
Christine is the only person in the world that calls me
Kev?
what she calls me. No,
Oh, what does she
no, she skipped right past Kev. That was already too long for
Kevy?
her. She calls me.
I call him KP.
KP. I like
KP.
that.
I know, I don't hate it. Yeah, I heard. I was like, huh, never thought about that.
Yeah, you look like a KP.
Okay, I'll take it.
So tell us what the Art Tatum Zone is.
And so the Art Tatum Zone is a neighborhood revitalization organization that was really focused on supporting kids and families in the Junction neighborhood. We primarily focus on educational outcomes, but we do a little bit of everything from leadership development to health and wellness, to a lot of focus on neighborhood development. I grew up in the Junction neighborhood. It is my home. It is my mother's home. It is the place I feel called to impact. I love the city of Toledo, but I can't eat the elephant, but I can impact the bite that I'm called to impact, and Junction neighborhood is it for me.
Let's talk about the journey to get there, right? So rarely is something linear where, you know, I was born here, I moved next door, and now I'm, you know, 2 doors down doing this work in the
Really?
community.
Because that's my expectation.
Yeah. How did you get into this role? Talk to me about, you know, little Christine growing up. What did you want to be?
We can't skip over little Christine. That was so many awkward years there. Grew up in the Junction neighborhood, as I talked about, right on Belmont Street in between Hoyt and Junction. Went to a private school until I graduated and went to the University of Toledo, where I met my amazing husband and majored in elementary education. So did what a lot of people did, got into teaching immediately after graduating, taught in Toledo Public Schools for 20 years. I will say my first assignment was with the 2nd grade class. And I will say the little boy went into the restroom and he called out, "Mrs. Sweeney, I need help." And I knew 2nd grade was not for me.
No.
At that point, made the decision that perhaps older children were my forte.
I'm worried
and
about
so I
this
taught
chair.
middle school math and science for 20 years.
So that's what, 4th, 5th, 6th graders?
6th, 7th, and
6th,
8th
7th,
grade.
and 8th.
Yeah.
Okay.
The little-
And math to 7th graders. You must be a forceful woman.
Sarcastic. Sarcasm is my love language. It is the way me and middle school students united and connected. I love math. I love sarcasm. I love the period where people feel awkward, and math often makes people feel awkward as well. So I live in the awkward space. After teaching for 20 years, when the pandemic started, I read an article about a suburban family that was hiring a contract teacher to create a pod for their neighborhood. And literally my heart broke because I started thinking about kids in the neighborhood where I grew up that would not have that same experience.
Right.
And so really at that point began to have some conversations with my husband about just how my heart was breaking for the community and how I felt like I couldn't just continue to impact 25 to 30 kids per year and know that I was doing what I was called to do. And so I really talked with him about stepping out to serve more children and families in our community and to step into leadership of the nonprofit that we had formed in 2018. And he was like, so we're both gonna be unemployed. And I'm like, yes. No, we were both pastoring at the time, but yeah, stepped out of Toledo Public Schools, talked with Dr. Duran about what I wanted to do and that I wasn't stepping away because of his leadership, but because of the need for more support from the community side. And so in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I stepped out of the classroom and really stepped into supporting kids and families in the community.
And so are you set up at Tabernacle? Like, do you have a physical space there, or are you someplace else, or are you everywhere?
We're a little bit of everywhere. So we did start working out of the Tabernacle. I believe that's how I met KP at one point. He came to do a time-lapse video of all the different ways that we transform our church space to serve community. I think he will tell you it was a very interesting project. So we started serving out of the Tabernacle, but now we work with a number of schools from Pickett Academy, MLK Academy, Ella P. Stewart, Jones Leadership Academy of Business. We're in all the schools within the zone. And then we also occupy community spaces. Our model is to go where the people are and to serve them there and to serve them well.
So can we back up just a little bit? I'm sort of taking over maybe Kevin's questions, but for people that don't know, who was Art Tatum and why is it important to, or did you want to name your organization after him?
That's such a great story. So as being pastors, one of the things that Calvin and I often focus on is getting outside of the church. We feel like the church a lot of times is too insularly focused, too focused internally. And so we really began talking to our congregation about getting outside of our church and impacting the community in which we're situated. And so one of the ways we did that was to begin community pickups and just community conversations. So we were literally walking down City Park, picking up garbage and cleaning up the neighborhood when we saw the historical placard in front of the Art Tatum home. And it was like, this probably is important, and why does it look like this?
So just for the audience, it's a dilapidated, or at least at that time, I don't know what its status is now, but there is a historical placard in front of it, but it is a dilapidated home that no one was taking care of.
It was a dilapidated home.
Okay, so great.
At that time, so yeah, the house was in great disrepair. All the windows had been broken. The foundation was damaged. There were no gutters, no drains on it. Weeds were growing all across the house in the front and the backyard. And so when we saw the historical placard, we just became dissatisfied with this being something that was meaningful for our community and being in the state. And so my husband and I are action takers. We don't really like to just have conversation for conversation's sake. So we as a group just started cutting the grass, started doing some of the things externally to make sure that the home was cared for. Did that for a number of years, and then someone reached out to us and said, I know the owner of the property, would you like to be connected? We said, sure. We were in contact with Lucille Johnson, who was the last living relative of Art Tatum, his niece, who was actually born in the back right bedroom of the house.
Wow.
She was 84 at the time, and she was like, sure, I'd love to talk to you, just 2 conditions. She said, I need a 6-pack of Pepsi, and I need some hot tamales. And we're like, okay, hot tamales.
I think we can do that.
I think we can make that happen.
That's
so
right.
we called our daughter's basketball coach. She hooked us up with some hot tamales, and we went to visit Miss Lucille. And we did that for a period of a year. Took her hot tamales and Pepsi, and every time she told us stories about her famous uncle and about their interactions. And at the end of that year's time, she said to us, there's been a lot of people that have had interest in the house, had interest in my uncle's name. She said, but I believe you guys would do right by it because you were doing right before you even knew who he was or that I had ownership. And so she turned over the house to us, asked us to maintain his legacy, and also asked us to use his story to inspire kids and families in our community. And so that caused us to change the name of the nonprofit to the Art Tatum Zone, to the area where he grew up and to inspire the kids and families in that community.
That's amazing.
One of the, I heard you speak to Junior Achievement at one of their events, and you said, kids can't be what they can't see. And I got to believe that's a big reason why telling the Art Tatum story is so important, because you've got kids in this neighborhood that may not see themselves ever getting out of the neighborhood, and then insert the story of Art Tatum.
Yeah, absolutely. Art Tatum grew up in the Junction neighborhood. It's where he was born. He faced a lot of the obstacles and challenges that students and families face today, and a lot more. And he overcame them and became a phenomenal world force in music. And so, yes, we talked to them about Art Tatum's story and asked them to compare their start to his start and look at his outcomes and know that they can achieve the same things. The other thing that I mean when I say that statement is that a lot of times we ask our students, what do they want to be? And they only can picture what they've seen in their own experience. And so one of the things that we do at the Art Tatum Zone is really expand those opportunities. We bring different people from different employment areas into their space. We bring different experiences from the Art Museum to the Toledo Live Arts to Metro Parks right into their spaces so that they can experience things that they've never experienced and expand their dreamscape. Because
what was the time frame that Art Tatum was living?
1909 to 1947.
Okay.
So very early 1900s, very influential. There are so many people that still are captivated by him. We had a gentleman come over from Germany when we first started fixing up the house, and he had a mason jar full of dirt. He had been to the house 40 years prior and filled up that mason jar with dirt because he was so inspired by the creativity and innovation of Art Tatum. And he placed this in his piano in his home. When he found out we were starting to rehabilitate the home, he was so excited that he flew back over to get a new mason jar. And so we've been able to do a lot to the home's exterior at this point. We replaced the foundation, all new windows, new drains, new gutters. The porch has been repaired. We've painted the exterior siding, done a lot of work to really bring the house back.
What's the ultimate goal for the use of the house, other than a historic marker, maybe a museum type space, but how do you want to use it?
Yeah, so we want to use it in 3 different ways. One, we want to have some space in the home to really relive who Art Tatum was and his contribution through an ongoing changing exhibit. We also want to have an artist in residency place where people that are current artists can come and be inspired by Art Tatum's innovation and by his style, but create their own legacy. And then we also want to have a space where people can come in and learn music and continue the legacy of jazz, which continues to influence all of the different genres that exist today.
That's wonderful.
We're talking with Christine Sweeney, the executive director of the Art Tatum Zone. I mentioned in the intro that you are one of the best collaborators we have in our community. Partnership is so hard because I'll collaborate as long as it ends up on my side of the aisle, right? But I've not seen that from you, that you are if it's what's best for the kids, we're going to do it. Talk to me about some of those early partners that jumped on board that had you realizing that maybe this is going to be okay.
You know, collaboration for me is not an option, it's a requirement. You know, as a startup nonprofit, as a smaller nonprofit, I've always understood that I can only do so much, we can only do so much. And so to go further faster for the kids and families that we serve, we have to collaborate. And for us, it's about widening the scope of what our families can have exposure to. So early partners were Junior Achievement, Jim Pollock. I called him one day and I was like, I want to do an entrepreneurial fair for our kids, but I want them to understand what entrepreneurship is. I want them to understand not how to rebuild credit, but how to build wealth. And so Jim was one of our early partners, has partnered with us for a number of years. Another early partner was Adam Levine and Toledo Museum of Art. During the pandemic, we opened up community learning centers and we helped kids connect with online instruction in the morning. Then we had an amazing lunch served while connecting kids to meals. And then the afternoon, they're like, what can we do now? And so TMA brought instructors into the space with us every single day. And our kids got to express their frustrations and their challenges through creating art. And that partnership continues. Other partners like TAPA or Toledo Live Arts now has come in and provided instrument lessons, vocal lessons, dance lessons, everything that our kids have thought about and imagined. First tee with golf. Toledo Metro Parks has been an amazing partner. I wish Matt was here, because the first time we took our kids out to the park, they were like, what do we do? And we're like, this is a park. You play, you explore. They had never had that experience. Even though we have city parks in our neighborhoods, they had never been in a kayak. They had never walked a trail. They had never intentionally looked for bugs, you know. There's so many different experiences that our students have had with all of these different partners that have widened their experiences, that helps them with their reading comprehension. It's hard to answer a question about what would you do if you've never been to a farm, if you've never been to a river, if you've never been some of the different places that our city has to offer. And so what we've been able to do is widen the experience of our students and our families and show them what an amazing community we live in.
We're talking with Christine Sweeney with the Art Tatum Zone. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I know you're not just a collaborator, you're also a dreamer. And so I want to talk about the city of Toledo and, you know, not just the Art Tatum Zone, but the whole city of kind of what we need. And I'd love to see through your eyes what you think is possible in Northwest Ohio. We'll take a break. We'll come right back on the 419.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love CBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
Monday through Friday, it's the 419 powered by WGTE. With Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker, I'm Kevin Mullen. What can people expect on the show?
It's going to be an hour, a reminder of why this is a great place to live, work, and play.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back into the 419, a mystery guest edition, and we're joined by my mystery guest, Christine Sweeney with the Art Tatum Zone in the Tabernacle. Christine, so we were talking about collaboration and some of the partners. What was the moment that, I guess let's go back to teaching, kind of you realize like, hey, I'm on the path I'm supposed to be. Was there a moment in the classroom that you remember that had you saying like, this is, I know faith plays a big part in your role today. I imagine it has your whole life. Yeah. Where you go, all right, God has me exactly where he needs me.
Well, I think for the years I was in the classroom, I knew I was exactly where I needed to be, just because there's always been a student or multiple students that have articulated that to me. And I know when I went into education, that was important, because I remembered and reflected on my own childhood where there were different moments where teachers impacted me beyond just the curriculum. And so that's always been important to me, to become that person for children that I served. Yes, I want them to make academic progress, but it's also important that we have those touch points that allow kids to recognize that they matter to someone and that their life means more than the grades that are on the page, right? And so that was always my focus as a teacher. Yes, I want to get you to make academic progress, but I want all of my students to know that they matter, and that they matter more than the grades on the page, and that each one of them has a purpose, and that each one of them has something that they will achieve in their future. And I don't think that's changed. And so even though I'm not a classroom teacher, I'm still an educator. I'm still a person that's communicating to children and families that they matter and that they are greater than the marks that show up on the page or the statistics that represent who they are.
How do you and your husband, Calvin, take all this in and not allow it to sadden you, or to think, that it's sad or unfortunate or too bad, or whatever word you want to use, that a kid from your neighborhood doesn't know how to use a park? How do you keep doing it? What makes you keep wanting to do this work when it all just seems, first of all, people may not even know that that's a thing, right? Mm-hmm. That's a reality in our community. And secondly, that it even has to be that way. How do you keep moving forward?
And at the same time, most people that see that don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's not great, but I think that's the reality. Is most people will see a problem and not run into the fire, right?
I think so. I'll speak of faith. I think God wired us differently, and I don't think uniquely differently. I think we've just stepped into that activation, right? So I don't see problems as problems. I see problems as opportunities. I look at it very entrepreneurially. Like, that hasn't been solved, that's an opportunity. And so I want to step into that space. And I think the reason that we continue to step into that space is because we realize people stepped into that space for us. So, like I said, I grew up in that neighborhood. I know there are people that stepped into that space for me. I think about Dr. Helen Cooks with the Toledo Excel program. I was a Toledo Excel group number 3 student. If she hadn't stepped into the space and said there was a gap between students that were first-time college, entrance students and students that, had parents and grandparents that had been in that program before and said they need support to be ready for that experience, I would not have gone to the University of Toledo on a full ride scholarship. Mm-hmm. So I know there were people that stepped into that space for me. So I'm determined to be one of those people. The other thing that I am eternally optimistic but realistic. And so I think hope is the key. So for me, I'm filled with hope when I look in our community. I'm not filled with despair. I don't think that our community is going to stay the same way, because I think when we work together, we can change it. I think love builds up hope. And so when you think about some of the core values of the Art Tatum Zone, compassion and love and relationship building is at the heart of the work. And when we have relationships and that we realize we're working with the community and not for the community, and that we're empowering them to have agency to believe that this can be different if we all work towards that, I'm filled with hope when I walk out into the streets and I see things that look like they shouldn't look right now. When I have kids that have never been to a 3D movie and then we take them to the imagination station and they're like, oh my God, the bugs and the flowers. That's exciting to me, because now they have a spark that will carry them into the next day. I get excited when our families go to the zoo for the first time, when the zoo has helped us get family memberships, and they're like, I don't just have to go to the zoo on Monday. I can go to the zoo any day throughout the week with my family. When they go to parks now and they're like, I don't just have to go to the park that's in my neighborhood, but I can go to Side Cut. I can go down to Glass City. And they're excited to experience their city in an entirely different way. When they look at the art museum and they don't see it as the place where they're getting followed and people are like, don't touch that, but where they're invited to create and see themselves as creatives, that's exciting to me. And so those things that fill my bucket outweigh the things that drain.
What's the practical way that caregivers can get their kids involved? How do they become a part of the program?
So all of the schools in the zone have the opportunity for kids to get engaged in our after-school program. So again, we go directly to where people are. So if they're attending any of the Toledo Public Schools, they have the opportunity to sign up right there in the buildings. If they're not attending Toledo Public Schools, we have community sites like the Tabernacle, like our offices that are right there on the campus of the McClendon Nuns housing community, where they can come to our offices and sign up. We also have the ability for them to sign up through our website. And so people can connect with us in a lot of different ways. And I always say, if they can't find us, we'll find you. Because we're always going out into the community. It's the way that we stay grounded in the work.
We're talking with Christine Sweeney with the Art Tatum Zone. As you talk about, both you and your husband are wired differently. I like to say, apples and trees, right? So, you think about what a kid looks like, and their parents are part of what made that. Talk to me about your parents and what did they do? Where did this? I imagine a lot of what we see in you is probably reflected from them.
So I'm going to say her. My mother and father were married when I was born, but my father had addiction issues and left when I was 3 years old. I was raised by a strong single woman. I would give her full name right now, but she would rebuke me loudly. But my mom was a very strong woman. She was a registered nurse. She also did some insurance sales on the side. She put us through private school from first grade until we graduated. She is the strongest person that I know. My mom did not believe in summer breaks just for summer breaks' sake. So she would go to the library and she would check out school books and she would create lesson plans for us throughout the summer. We were constantly learning. We were constantly pushed. We were latchkey kids. So we spent a lot of time on our own while my mom did her 12-hour days. But even though she was at work, she was still present. And so I would say definitely my strength comes from my mother. My sarcasm also comes from her. If you ever have a conversation with my mom, you will know the apple does not fall far from the tree.
And you have siblings?
I do. I have two brothers, an older brother, Brian, who lives in Detroit. He's about 10 years older than I am. And then I have a younger brother, David, who lives in Houston, Texas, who's 2 years younger than I am. I still claim that I am his second mother.
Yes.
Even to this day.
Yes. Probably valid.
My daughter would claim that she's the second mother of both of her younger brothers as well.
Absolutely. They need it.
Sometimes she claims she's also my mother.
Probably accurate.
You also need it, KP.
I also very much do need it. Let's talk about City of Toledo, right? When you look outside the window and you see the city and you see, you know, to Gretchen's point earlier, some of the challenges that we're facing. I mean, what's your dream? What's your vision? What's possible?
Yeah, so when I look at the city of Toledo, I really think about neighborhoods. For me, neighborhoods are the unit of change for the city of Toledo. We can continue to look at the entire city, and we should. Those that lead our city should look at that from that 30,000, foot view. But those of us that live in the city of Toledo need to start thinking of it as neighborhoods again, as communities. And so when I think about the Junction community, the Junction neighborhood, I see that as one unit of change within our city. And I think there's other neighborhoods that see themselves similarly, Vistula, East Toledo. How can those units of change bring people together around their understood challenges and how they can overcome them together?
What kind of work do you do with those other neighborhood community leaders, if at all?
So we talk a lot about advocacy. Junction Coalition is a huge force in our community. We talk about our faith community. How do we rally those churches, not just to be buildings in that location, but to see themselves as change agents as well? How do we bring together anchor institutions like our schools, like our museums, like our zoo, to figure out how we all can serve best together? How do we bring national practices and models back to our neighborhood and look at how we can institute change from within? How do we empower children, young people, and our community members, not just to be receivers, but to be contributors to change? So we do we have a youth advisory council, we have a community advisory council, we do a lot of meetings, we have a pantry that meets weekly, and we engage our community in conversations every single day to make sure that this isn't just us, but it's us.
What's the biggest barrier?
What's the biggest barrier?
New
Money.
categories of barriers.
And why is it Gretchen?
Well, I would argue KP. No.
KP, how are you funded and what do you?
And so we have a funding mix. We have some corporations that work with us that provide some funding. We have some grant funding, and then we have some earned revenue. We learned a long time ago that if we were only grant reliant, we would only be grant reliant, and that can only take you so far. And so we're rapidly chasing how can we be sustainable without grants, or with grants being icing on the cake. And so earned revenue for us is really important. We think that our families want to have skin in the game, and that varies for our families, but we ask our families to contribute to the programming that they participate in, so that they understand the commitment that they're making and that we're making.
It sounds to me like you really enjoy going to the zoo and seeing the stuff alongside the kids, going to the classes at the art museum. But outside of that, what is something that you like to do in your downtime? What is like a guilty
Downtime?
pleasure? What is that? What's like a ridiculous show on Netflix that you watch? Like what is something that you do when you set aside everything and just want to, and even get away from that, Calvin? Like, what is something that you do just for you?
I do not get away from Calvin very often. Anyone that knows Calvin and I, in fact, nationally, we're known as the Sweeneys.
The Sweeneys,
The Sweeneys.
Okay.
But Christine, in her downtime, loves music. I am a music fan. I love to sing. So music is really my safe space. It really is how I decompress. I love to write. So I'm looking forward to writing some books in the near future.
Oh, neat. What kind of subject matter?
Faith matters a lot to me, but I also talk about education.
I thought you were going to say like sci-fi aliens.
Well, that's the only one I'm writing about, Kevin.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right, there's no better transition than that. It's now time for Gretchen's Wacky Quiz.
I don't endorse that name.
You just participated the most
I know.
you ever have.
You made me.
I'm so grateful. I'm going to ask you 4 rapid fire questions. Gretchen's going to ask for your favorite thing in or about Toledo, and then she's going to work with you to describe Toledo in exactly 9 words.
Okay, I got
All right.
you.
She's
Question
ready.
number 1. What gift, Calvin, listen up. What gift would you most like to receive?
Okay, people that know me know this about me. So I am a cheese fanatic.
Yes.
So cheese is my favorite gift. Don't give me diamonds, because I can't eat that. I need cheese.
Oh, I love that. What song have you listened to the most in the last week?
In the last week. So I'm on our worship team at church. So Always on Time. There's a song that just talks about there's never been a day, there's never been a minute, there's never been a moment that God wasn't in it. There's never been a time when he hasn't brought me through. So I'll worship him. So that's been on repeat for me.
Nice.
Name 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
Sarcastic, compassionate,
diminutive,
and driven.
So I appreciate
that
Matt's.
was the nicest way I could say short.
Yeah, but I appreciate Matt's not here. It doesn't mean you need to be being our guests
That's
for
true.
him. If you had to swap lives with anyone for a week, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Jeffrey Canada. I'd love to talk with his team without any kind of restraints.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. Okay, what is your number 1 most favorite thing about the city of Toledo?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my real answer, and then I'm going to give you an answer that works for the podcast.
Okay, got it.
My real answer is the people of Toledo. I absolutely love the people. If I'm thinking about a thing, I'm going to go University of Toledo Rockets. I love our Rockets.
You and your husband go to games and...
Well, my husband is the chaplain for the University of Toledo Rocket team.
No way, I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
So you're there cheering them on and praying for them.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's work through our list. 9 things that you would say or words that you would use to describe the city of Toledo. Or it could be a sentence if you want.
It is, because, I believe in being
She's a
prepared.
writer. Yeah, go ahead.
So, first of all, Tatumstown.
Okay.
Second of all, resilient and gritty.
Uh-huh.
And then finally, poised for a comeback.
Nice.
Well,
I love it when you
done.
prepare. I love it. It was so nice talking to you. So nice
Those
to meet
rare
you.
moments when I help my guests prepare.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so good that you sent your letter
I
out.
shouldn't say I helped her prepare. I just gave her notice that she should prepare.
That's right. Where can people find more information about our Tatum Zone if they want to get involved or reach out to you to give you a big bag of money?
Oh, wow. So website would be the way to get that big bag of money to us. So the ourtatumzone.org. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I will say X, though not as much there as we would like to be. So please reach out, social media, website, give us a call. We're here to help.
Great. Thank you.
Christine Sweeney with the Art Tatum Zone. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I'm so grateful for your friendship. I love everything you're doing in the community. Please keep us updated on stuff you're doing. You got events coming up that we can help promote. We'd love to have you back on the show. And it doesn't need to be a surprise the next time. So.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Candice Harrison, one of this year's YWCA Milestones honorees for the volunteerism category.
Right.
We'll be right back on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And TARTA, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarta.com.
Welcome back into the 419. One of the things we're so proud to be able to do with this show is highlight incredible people making a difference in our community, and we are so grateful to be able to partner with YWCA, highlighting their 2026 Milestones awardees. We are joined now by a friend of mine, Candice Harrison. You are the 2026 YWCA Milestones honoree.
That's a big title.
For volunteerism.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
well
you
deserved.
very much. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Talk to us. So you work full-time, you work at SSOE.
Yes.
What do you do there?
So at
And what is SSOE?
Okay, so SSOE is a renowned architecture and engineering firm headquartered right here in Toledo, Ohio, downtown, 1001 Madison Avenue, to be specific. And there I am the Director of Inclusion and Community Impact. I started there as Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and over time my role started to expand to take on a little bit more of things that we were doing in the community. We started a foundation, and we increased our corporate giving, and so that falls under part of what I'm responsible for, as well as building our volunteerism program, because we volunteer out in the community, but we really didn't have a strategy around how we do it. So that was part of my responsibility, and then still managing our DEI efforts.
So why does a architecture and engineering firm need to have a strategy around involvement in their community and equity and inclusion?
So one thing people don't know, some people do, but people, you know, I meet quite a few people that say, I see that building all the time. I never knew what they did there. Yeah. And I invite anybody to come and visit and do a tour, because a lot of really great work goes on there. But why it's important, well, first of all, it's a business case for it. You know, in an environment where creativity or just different thoughts are at the table, you just can build better things. And so there's that. And then just doing the right thing, making sure the organization looks like the communities that we live in. And that, you know, not only do people, you know, want to come work, they want to stay, you know, in working there. They see themselves represented, they feel valued, they feel seen. One of the things that's really cool that we do are employee resource groups, and we have 6 of them. We have an employee resource group around a multitude of demographics in our company, including an Interfaith Alliance, which is something that, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily explore. But we have people of all faiths in that organization learning about each other, and they serve the community together. They do a lot of community outreach and activities, and then they support our employees internally and things like that. So it's really nice, and we've had a lot of success with the DEI work that we're doing. But what I was going to say, what people don't know is that we're not just in Toledo. We have offices all over the United States and Mexico and India.
Wow, I did not know that.
Prior to getting this phone call from SSOE, I mean, you were not in the architectural industry prior to this. Talk to us about kind of that, I don't know necessarily the path to get there, but as much as like that first conversation with SSOE about taking on this role and what you were most excited about with it.
So correct. It was a bit of a career shift in a way. I think all of the work that I had done prior definitely prepared me for the environment that I came into, because I had always worked in public service or, you know, levy-funded organizations, nonprofit, that type of environment. And so it actually was a 4-month process to starting to work there. And interestingly enough, my first interview was with Vince DePaffy, our CEO. And that was unique for me because normally the person at the top is who you would meet last.
Right.
And he, you know, felt very strongly about his vision for what DEI would look like in the company. And he said before he would present me to anybody else in the company, he wanted to make sure I was a fit because I was going to report to him. And we did. We were supposed to have an interview, and we kind of just hit it off in terms of, you know, our perspectives. And what I was most excited about was I really felt like I was going to get a chance to come in and make a change because it started at the top.
And he had the commitment to it.
He had the commitment, a solid commitment from a visionary standpoint, but he also, you know, put our finances. He was willing to do the investment to get around the work. So I was excited about that because sometimes people, especially during that time, like we're talking 2021,
right?
Going into 2022, when everybody was kind of on this, like, you know, it was a lot of political violence, you know. It was a lot happening at that time, and people were kind of glued to their televisions because we were home.
Right.
And so people, you know, had perspective about what they thought we should do. Some people stuck to that. Some people pivoted away from it. So it really felt like it wasn't performative. It felt like it was genuine, and I was ready for a change, and so it was time. And so,
well, it sounds like it. I mean, it definitely was a commitment because now that in the current environment, people are. That did it as window dressing, maybe, or as an immediate response and didn't have the commitment, did away with it.
Yes.
Changed the name, changed the titles, but it's SSOE has maintained that commitment, which is really remarkable.
And that's why you can, I'm sorry, and I would say that's why you can find on our website, because people will assume that my title was changed because many people changed their title, but we, you know, outline on our website that we're still committed. But my role was more than just DEI, so it needed to reflect that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your early days? Are you from Toledo? Your family from Toledo? High school, college, that kind of stuff?
Yes. Okay, so I'm born and raised in Toledo.
Okay.
I grew up in North Toledo. We spent some time in like Central City, Toledo, like off door, kind of near the New Mott Library. Well, the old one too, it's just across the street. So we spent some time over there, but I grew up in North Toledo. My family's from Toledo originally. So I grew up with my paternal grandparents who raised me, and their family came from the South. My grandfather migrated up here from the South to work, and then he brought his family with him, his siblings and things. And then my great grandmother, her family was from Southern Illinois, and so everybody's pretty much from some Southern place and kind of migrated up here. But all of my immediate family is from here, lives here still. We had a couple people transplant to Phoenix area or Atlanta, but for the most part, my family's here.
And your husband Brandon is a detective with the Toledo Police Department. How did you two meet?
We met at a bar.
Nice. Okay. Now, what was the name of the bar? Because I'm gonna.
The Blueprint is what it was called.
So you had to choose one that doesn't exist anymore. Now, Gretchen was going to go there right now.
Tonight. Yeah.
We're talking with Candice Harrison. You are one of the Milestone Award honorees this year. Talk to me about getting that phone call from the YWCA telling you that you were one of the honorees.
Oh my goodness. So honestly, I was leaving another award ceremony that was celebrating women as well, a committee that I've been serving on for a few years. And when I was headed, well, I actually was at home. We were at our neighbor's house just kind of hanging out with them after. And I got a text from Lisa McDuffie, who was like, can you call me really quickly? It's about the milestone. So I was thinking in my mind, she may want us to sponsor.
Right.
But it was late, so that was interesting because it was, it was nighttime. And so I said, well, is it like right now, like now or tomorrow? She said, no, if you are up, call me now. And
so it was late.
Yeah, it was like 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have gotten that the next morning at 5 a.m.
It's not late for me, but, so I just, like I said, I was like, should I call you now? And so she was, are you busy? Are you by yourself? And when she told me, I was very shocked. And it's interesting because I wasn't shocked, like I felt like I didn't deserve it, because I certainly feel like I've earned it. But I think I've sat at the milestones and celebrated so many other people. I don't know if I ever even like visualize myself there.
Right.
At least not yet. I think maybe, you know, I don't know, because I never know what the criteria is, and then it's just a few people and it's one person in a category.
Right.
And it's only so many categories I qualify for. So I was really like, you know, surprised, you know, and like I said, I do think I do a lot, especially in this area. I've done a lot over my career. So I was honored and I felt very proud. And I can't say that I don't often feel proud of myself, but I just don't think of my work in a way like, oh, I'm, you know, doing so great. I just do things.
Just do the stuff, right. So the Ward for Volunteerism, tell us a little bit about a couple of the volunteer boards or organizations that you work for or volunteer for in the community.
So currently, I serve as president-elect for the Rotary Club of Toledo, which I have to thank Kevin for that, because he was definitely part of that trajectory. I initially didn't know if I was okay with accepting that position. And so he was able to, you know, just kind of encourage me, like, you'll be able to do it. You have time. Because it was like, you find out a few years in advance. You know, it's not something you just they spring on you. So I serve as president-elect there, which I'm also very proud, because I'll be the first African-American person to ever lead the club. So I feel very proud of that and leaving a little bit of a legacy.
And I believe the 5th female president in the club's 120-year history.
You got to shake some things up over there.
Kevin got us started on that already.
Let's go. You know I'm in for that.
And so I will say, and so I'm also on the board of Central Catholic High School, which is where I went to high school. You graduated,
yep.
And that's good. Everybody knows that about me.
Yes.
That's one thing that's part of my brand, which I'm very proud of.
And you have their colors on today.
Yes, I do. But these are also my sorority colors,
yes.
too. So, yes, I chair the marketing committee there, and I'm on the Art Tatum Zone board as well. But I have served a lot of boards. I'm also in 2 service organizations. I mentioned my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm also in the Toledo chapter of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, which is a national organization as well. Delta's international. So, and so those are the things that I currently do now. I'm knee deep, as you know, in senior year with my daughter. So that is its own part-time job. But I've served Arts Commission before on the board. I've served, oh goodness, look, I'm gonna start to think of them. Let's see, Arts Commission. I've served on Wendy Huntley. She used to work for an organization called Children's Hunger Alliance. That was actually my very first board. I served years ago, Committee for Cultural Diversity at Toledo Zoo. And there was a Committee for Cultural Diversity at the museum, which I ended up later working for both of them in leadership. So if I just sat in PRSA, the press club, I was president of press club there. A little legacy building on that one as well, because I was the first African-American president for Press Club too. So just a lot of service. And then I would just volunteer a lot. Just pick up. I don't know. I think I'm just wired that way.
Did that come from
my upbringing?
Your upbringing, your grandparents?
So I said that in another place I did an interview. I talked about, I think when I was growing up, by, like I said, my grandmother and her mother. They lived across the street from each other. So my grandmother and my great-grandmother kind of co-raised me, and they were my paternal grandparents. And by the time they raised me, they were very up in age. And they both were just on a fixed income. So we benefited from a lot of service, like a lot of volunteerism, a lot of things, you know, like we occasionally got, you know, food baskets, or we had to go to a place to get food, or we had to, back in the day, it used to be this thing for people who, you know, were low income. You could get like a voucher for a coat, and it would be like people that would be responsible for that. So the different things that I experienced growing up and seeing the people who just genuinely had a heart to serve. And even though we didn't have a lot, my great grandmother definitely gave of her hands. She would serve anywhere. And I always saw her present at my school. And so for that is why you can always find me present in my children's school, because that's what I grew up seeing. And you know, whatever you can offer to the community, I think it comes back, because I don't burn bridges, and I have a lot of support, people that I can call for different things, or people can call me too. But I think I've just built a good reputation off of my willingness to just get in and serve.
I agree.
We're talking with Candice Harrison. You're one of the YWCA Milestones honorees. Why does this award matter coming from the YWCA?
So the YWCA, first of all, they do absolutely amazing work on behalf of women. And also when I look at the work that they've done around making the world a more equitable place for women, but for all, I think that it's really important coming from there. And then just also the reputation that they've built for this particular event and award is, you know, best in class, like that, you know. Yep, and it means a lot that one, I get to stand alongside of some of the women that I know that have previously received it, but two, that it would come from an organization that has the mission that they have.
What are you most looking forward to on that day? I mean, you guys meet so early and there's so much press around it and it's such a huge room. I'm sure your family is going to be there, but are you nervous about it? What are you looking forward to about the actual day of the awards on March 26th?
I am nervous.
Yeah.
I am nervous, and I don't often get nervous. And I think it's because it's me. Like, I don't really know what to expect. I know what people have told me, but I don't know what to expect, like, in the morning, you know, the things that we do then. I'm really excited. I think the thing I'm the most excited about are my children will be there. One of the things with our organization, we had a number of tables, and our CEO, Vince, I brought him up earlier, said, let's give one of our tables to some young women you think might be inspired.
That's so cool.
You know, by the messages they'll hear. And so I was able to pick them. So I picked 10 girls from Central.
That's great.
And they're 10 girls that I know them all personally. Some of them, you know my daughter. They play volleyball with her. Or some of them are just young ladies who are leaders in the building that I've interacted with through, you know, being there in various capacities. And I'm really excited for my children to see me be recognized and be recognized in front of them. Really excited for the young ladies to hear everyone's story, not just mine. And I'm also really proud my father will be there.
Oh,
and,
great.
you know, I've broken some generational barriers.
Mm-hmm.
I really have. And I wish his mother was here to see it, but she'll be
there in spirit. That's right.
Candice, congratulations.
Thank you.
The YWCA Milestones Awards are coming up next week, Thursday, March 26th.
Mm-hmm.
You can find out more information there, ywcanwo.org. Candice, congratulations. Such a well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
We appreciate you being with us. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Friday edition of the 419, powered by WGTE.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertain, inform, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and Rethinking Jails and Justice. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419, another exciting edition with my mystery guest, Christine Sweeney.
Such a good guest.
And of course, celebrating the great work of all of our Milestones awardees, including Candice Harrison, who joined us on the show today. If you missed any part of the show, 3 great opportunities to enjoy it. 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects, channel 30.4. It's the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.